Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're all doing okay and having a great day and amazing week. My name is Effy and today I'm doing a full face of makeup. I'm decluttering. I've just finished filming all of my declutters. They should be up by the time I upload this video, and I just thought I'd pick a few products from each category and put them on my face. I'm starting this video with no makeup on because I just got back from the gym and I thought I'd just film this before I go shower. I probably should shower first, but oh well. Yeah, so I can just wash it all off, because most of it is probably out of date. So if you like the sound of that video, please do just keep on watching. If you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up one video a week and it is always makeup content, so if that sounds like the type of thing, then this is the place for you. Drop me a comment down below, let me know how your week's going, but other than that, let's go on with the video. I'm not sure how good the lighting is going to be in this video, just because it's quite late in the day. It's like 12 minutes past 5 to be exact. I am just wearing a sports bra, which I feel very uncomfortable in because I don't like my shoulders or my arms, so please ignore them. But let's make a start. I'm going to start with eyes, and the eye primer I'm going to use is the Too Faced Shadow Insurance. This is probably out of date, to be honest. I thought I'd also just talk in this video about why I'm decluttering certain products. This one I'm decluttering because, like I said, it's probably out of date. I don't use it too often. It doesn't have a lot of coverage to it at all, so I prefer my eye primers to have that, and this one doesn't, so I thought I'd declutter it. Eye primer is on. Actually, I might zoom you in a little bit while we do the eyes. It's not really a tutorial, so I'm not going to be talking through what I'm doing, but just so you can see a bit better. There we go. Hopefully that is a bit better. It's not fully zoomed in because, like I said, it's not a tutorial. But the eyeshadow palette I'm going to use is the Soph X Revolution Super Spice palette. This was her third collab with Makeup Revolution, and honestly my least favourite of the three. I looked at it and I thought I'd really like it because I love bright colours. I don't like this one. So basically my issue with this palette is a lot of the bright colours are sort of all the same like intensity. They're all very bright, and so I find it a bit hard to work with. The browns and the black and stuff I really like. They work amazingly. But a lot of the shades like Cookie Dough and Cookie Dough and Brownies and the black are in her other palettes. So I think I kept one of her palettes. Let me check. No, I kept both apparently. I kept both her first and her second collab, which they're probably old and out of date now. So for this look, I'm going to do a purple pink lilac. From what I remember, the lilac didn't work very well. So I'm going to start with the purple, which is called Papa. The colour packs on really nicely. It's a really nice colour. It's just not as bright as I thought it was going to be. I actually thought it was going to be a bit darker than this, but that's my problem, not the palettes. It works really nicely. It's a nice palette. It just didn't do what I wanted it to, and for that reason I just didn't particularly get on with it, and then I just didn't really use it because I wasn't getting on with it, and it just sort of spirals from there really, doesn't it? Now I'm going in with the pink called Lover, and from what I remember this is really bright, so it might actually take over the purple a little bit. Again, it's gone on really nicely. It's not annoying, but it's kind of a bit annoying that this palette didn't really do a great job for me. Like, I didn't fall in love with it after the few times I used it. I will say the first look I ever did with it, which I filmed, I loved, and then every look I've done since then I've not. But that colour has gone on really nicely. It's blended with the purple. It actually didn't take over the purple too much at all. I will go back through and blend the shades once they're all on, but for now I need another brush. And I'm going in with the shade Lockdown, which is the lilac, which I vaguely remember it didn't work too well, but so far I've been wrong, so let's see. I think that does a nice job of softening the edges, but in terms of being able to actually see the colour on my eyes, you can't really, and that was my problem. If it's meant to be a visible colour, it should be visible. There is a white in this palette, so I feel like you could get the same effect from just blending a white over your edges. I compare this to the Beauty Bay Pastels palette because that has a lilac in it, and you can see that lilac when you use it. So for me, this lilac just didn't really do a lot. What I'm going to do now is just go back through all those colours and reblend them. I've reblended them. They blend really nicely together, and actually I've packed that lilac on so much that I think you can actually see it now, which is good, but not what I want to do. If I need a lilac, I'll go to my Beauty Bay Pastels palette. And same with these sort of colours. If I need these sorts of colours, I'll go to a different palette, and I think that's really the reason why I'm getting rid of this. Now for a shimmer, I love the shade Dreamy. It is my favourite shade in the palette. and I will use it, but it's a bit more of a topper shade. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of this one here, which is called Frere. Frere? It's a French word, and I'm terrible at French. So the blue shimmer. And I'm sort of doing like a halo eye sort of look, so I'll just put it in the middle. That's gone on really nicely. However, I did have to dig at the pan a little bit. I don't know if mine's just got a little bit of hard pan in it or something like that, but I did have to dig at the pan a little bit just to get the actual product onto my brush and enough of it to really give me some payoff. And now I'm going in with the shade Dreamy on top. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous shade, and if this was in one of her other palettes, I'd be very happy, but unfortunately it's not. But it is a bit more of a topper shade. That is such a stunning shade, and it's just sort of lessened the blue a little bit, but I still really like it. So part of me, genuinely part of me, wants to keep the palette just for that Dreamy shade, but there is no point because I will not use it because I won't reach for the palette, unfortunately. What we're going to do now is my base. I'm actually just going to leave you at this level of zoomed in because you can see everything and that's the main thing. The primer that I have decluttered that I'm going to use today is the Revolution Pro Pore Primer. And realistically, I've just sort of found that I don't go for these sorts of like primers anymore. If I want something to fill in my pores, I will use the e.l.f. putty primers. Sorry, my mirror just sort of flashed way too much light onto my face. It does feel very smoothing on the skin. It's just not what I go for nowadays. I do quite like a hydrating primer, something that's gonna give my skin a little extra moisture. I do normally do like a full skincare in the morning with like cleanser, toner, moisturiser, sun cream, things like that. And then I'll go in with a primer, and that's when I'll use the putty primer like around my pores, or I'll use like a gripping primer so that my makeup stays on. So this just isn't my sort of thing anymore. There's nothing wrong with it. It still feels perfectly fine, like it's not separated, there's no oil coming out of it. It's just not really what I go for, but my skin does feel nice and smooth. Foundation. The Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation, matte, in the shade Soft Ivory. I just didn't really get on with this. It's on a spatula, as you can see. Now, I have nothing wrong with foundation that comes on spatulas. Actually, the MUA Pro foundation is on a spatula, and I really like that. However, what I find with this, and the issue I have with it, is that this is a much, much more liquidy foundation. I'm probably using too much, but that's fine. And it being on a spatula is difficult to work with, whereas the MUA one is much thicker, like it's a very thick foundation, but it does sheer out, so I do like it. But it's a lot easier to get the spatula from the bottle to your face without dripping it everywhere. It's on, and it's actually a nice foundation, like there's nothing wrong with it. It looks quite nice on my skin. I will say it is a touch, ever so slightly, too yellow for my skin tone. I have quite like neutral undertones. My skin sometimes goes a bit red from like rubbing in primers and moisturisers and things like that. But overall, like my neck is quite neutral, my body is quite a neutral tone. So this is ever so slightly too yellow. It is a matte foundation, which I don't mind, but because I still look a little bit glowy, like I don't look fully matte. But yeah, this foundation just didn't do it for me. I think the packaging is the main thing. If it came with a pump, I'd probably prefer it, is the main reason. Concealer is the Barry M Face Fresh Perfecting Concealer with Hyaluronic Acid in the shade 1. I haven't even had this too long. Like, my testing Barry M video didn't go up that long ago, but this is the lightest shade. And I feel like it's not light enough. It's also very low coverage, and I prefer, particularly under my eyes, to have a little bit higher coverage. Also, you can tell the colour's quite dark because I can use it on my spots, which basically means it's the same colour as my skin. It's also a small doe foot. That's not really an issue, I'm just used to bigger doe foots now. Like the Revolution Conceal and Define has a bigger doe foot. My favourite concealer, which is the Rimmel Multitasker, has a bigger doe foot. I just don't have the energy to be dipping into the concealer pot every 2 seconds. And I know that's a very small, minor detail, but it bothers me. it has actually given me a decent amount of coverage under my eyes. Like, I would be happy with this amount of coverage under my eyes on a daily basis. However, my under eyes are not that bad, really, realistically, in the grand scheme of things. They don't really go blue, which I know a lot of people's do with like lack of sleep, because if they did, they'd be permanently dark blue because I'd never get enough sleep. But it doesn't, my eyes don't do that. So for me, this is enough coverage, but I don't think it's enough for like a lot of people. Now I'm going in with powder, and we have the collection Lasting Perfection Sheer Loose Powder in Matte. I didn't mind this, it's just I don't reach for it. It's also quite thick, like it's quite difficult to get out. It's quite a thick powder compared to a lot of my other powders that I prefer. I actually prefer like a really thin powder, like the e.l.f. HD powder I really like. The Barry M Ready Set Smooth I really like, but they are both incredibly finely milled. This is also like a very matte powder, and I'm pretty sure this is in the shade Translucent. It is. I don't think it is translucent, which I don't mind a like tinted powder with a little bit of coverage, because actually the I Heart Revolution Scented Loose Baking Powder in Peach has colour to it, and that's one of my favourite powders again, and that's only a 5. I definitely recommend it. But this is also very, very matte, and I do have a lot of matte powders. None are quite this matte, and I've also just got it down my sports bra, but it's fine because the sports bra will be going in the wash. Yeah, it's a nice enough powder. I just wasn't really reaching for it, and I think part of it is just because it's not as finely milled as I personally would like, but it's a fine enough powder. They do also have a different one, like a not matte one. I might give that a go. I do want to start buying makeup again because I haven't really bought any at all this year. And when I do, I want to try a lot of like the cheaper brands, because even like Collection and MUA have brought out new products that I've not tested. So I would like to do that. Now we're going in with blush, and I chose the Wonder Beauty Trip for Two Brush and Bronzer Duo, and here it is. We have the shade Bellini and Costa Ray. I actually don't mind the bronzer, but I just do not reach for this palette. I think part of it might be because the blush just isn't my sort of blush. It's quite pink. From what I remember, it doesn't have a lot of pigment, and now I'm going to put it on, it's probably going to have way too much. But it's just, actually that's quite nice. It is quite a nice like peachy, pinky blush. I do like it. I'm putting it on my face and I'm starting to really like it. I feel like you can't really see it on camera that much, but it does look really, really nice in real life. But I just don't reach for this at all. Like, I got it in, I think, an advent calendar, maybe the Glossy Box advent calendar, and I just don't reach for it. But it's a really nice shade actually, but I am tapping in quite a lot to the pan, and also I have similar shades to this in my collection already that I do reach for. So I just think for me this doesn't get enough use, and that's really the main reason I've decluttered it. I'm not going to use the bronzer, but I will just swatch it for you. It's almost like a little bit of a contour for me. It's a nice enough bronzer. Again, I just do not reach for the product, and therefore there's no point in me having it in my collection. The bronzer I am going to use is the Revolution Ultra Sculpt and Contour Kit in the shade C01 Ultra Fair. I hit pan on it. This was in my project pan last year. I actually really like this. This is the second one of these I've bought, and in the first one I completely used up the bronzer. The reason I'm decluttering it, A, it's old, B, I don't use the blush or the highlight at all. But the bronzer is really good, and if you think you're going to use the highlight and the blush, I do fully recommend it. I don't know if they still sell it, but when they did, this was like £3.50 for 3 shades. So when I was a poor little uni student, this was the bronzer I went for, and I really liked it. I'm pretty sure when I bought it, I probably bought it for the highlight and then just didn't really like the highlight. And then because I wasn't really a bronzer person, I thought, oh, I'll just use this bronzer, it's the only one I have, and actually ended up loving it. And it is a nice product. I really wish I could keep it. It's mainly the fact that I know how old it is. That's the main reason I'm getting rid of it, to be honest. And I'm not going to buy a third one. I can't do it. I just have too many makeup products nowadays to have something in my collection where I'm only using a third of it. Just doesn't make sense to me anymore. For highlight, I'm going to use the Beauty Bay powder highlight in the shade Flash. I'm decluttering this because it's just too much. It's very, very blinding. I'm using a very, very light hand. It's also very icy. Like, I'm pale, but this is like white. And personally, I prefer a highlight that has a little bit of something to it, a little bit of colour, whether that be pink or like a little bit of champagne. I just prefer those. But yeah, this is just too intense of a highlight for me. And I'm pretty sure the next shade, like the next darker shade, would be too dark for me. It's also a little bit glittery, which I personally don't mind in a highlight. I quite like a glittery highlight. But yeah, this just a mixture of reasons why this highlight just doesn't work for me. I'm going to quickly finish up my lower lash line, and basically I'm just going to do exactly what I did on my lid, on my lower lash line, with the purples and pinks and a little bit of the blue in the middle. If the lighting changed, I did just shut the curtains because the light was starting to come in like about here and it was throwing off all the colours. So yeah, sorry about that. Now I'll do my brows. Brow pencil is the Bourjois Brow Reveal Precision Eyebrow Pencil in the shade Soft Brown. I just didn't really get on with this. I think it's too warm and too brown for me. The spoolie is a bit crap. It's not really my favourite. But the pencil is just a standard pencil. Yeah, I think the problem with this is it's just way too warm for my brows and just doesn't really look great. And I'm also kind of a little bit guilty of being incredibly set in my ways when it comes to my brows. I stick to the same brow products, and those are the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, the Benefit Goof Proof Brow Pencil, and the MUA Precision Eyebrow Pencil, something like that. Brow gel is going to be the Wet n Wild Browsessive Brow Shaping Gel in the shade Blonde. This was in my project pan last year. I don't mind the product, it's just getting a bit old, and I was using it for my project pan but didn't really have much of an opinion on it, and I just have better brow gels, I think. The NYX Thick It Stick It Thick It Stick It Brow Thickening Mascara in the shade Taupe is my all-time favourite. Also, the fact that this is in blonde probably doesn't help, because although I dye my hair blonde, my hair is not blonde. My brows look intense. They're also just very, very, very warm. Like, my brows are never normally this warm. My brow hairs are naturally quite like a cool toned brown, so I just think they look a bit weird being this warm. I do also need to shave them and pluck them and make them look a lot better. But overall, the brows are intense. This isn't a brow combo I would ever really go for. Mascara is the KVD Go Big or Go Home Mascara. Again, this was in my project pan last year, and I loved it, but it's dry. It's so dry, I don't even know if it's going to work. There we go. That is the best I can do, and I really had to work to get it to do just this. It's just old, dry, a bit clumpy now. It needs to go. I probably won't repurchase it just because I have so many mascaras that I love. And as much as I did love this one, you can get the same thing from much cheaper prices. Actually, one that I really recommend that's very similar to that is the Primark False Lash Queen, something like that. It's in a pink tube. I actually really like that. I now need to pick a lip product. I'm going to go for this. It's the MUA Velvet Matte Longwear Liquid Lipstick in the shade Dash. I've had this a long time, and really, yeah, I just smelled it to make sure it is actually okay to put on my lips. It's just a bit old. It's not going to match perfectly, but it'll do. That is on. I actually really like the formula of these, and I have got another one in a more purpley tone that I picked up because it was quite unique. But I really do like this. I can't keep it though because it's just so old, but it does look nice, and they do work really well. If you're still into your liquid lipsticks, they are actually really good. They last pretty well. They feel pretty comfortable, like they're not horrendous. I've had worse liquid lipsticks. But yeah, if you want a cheap liquid lipstick, I would recommend. I've not done my lips evenly, let me fix that. That's not perfect, but it will do. So there we go, that is a full face of makeup that I'm decluttering. If you've watched my declutters, let me know down in the comment section which one was your favourite. I think my favourite one was the eyeshadow palettes because I really needed to get rid of some. I think on the whole I did pretty well at decluttering my makeup. I think next year I'm going to do a brutal declutter because next year it will be, a lot of products will be out of date if I still have them. So I'm going to brutally declutter next year and get rid of loads. But for now I'm pretty happy with what I decluttered. I actually quite like my makeup. which is a bit annoying because obviously I'm getting rid of these products. None of them work particularly badly. Like the mascara, fair enough, it's old, it needs to go. The brow products do not work for me in my hair colour. But other than that, like the primer, foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, highlight, eyeshadow palette, lip products, all worked fine. There's nothing wrong with these products, they just don't get enough use in my collection. So I think it's fair that I got rid of them. But let me know down in the comment section what you think of this look. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up one video a week and it's always makeup content. So if that sounds like the type of thing, then this is the place for you. It's completely free to subscribe. The button is just down below. And then you can turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss any of my uploads. I upload every Saturday at 10 AM at the moment. I don't know why I'm adding all this information in. I never normally include it in my outro. But anyway, I'll let you go. Have a great day, an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.